What is up, Browns fans? It is us, Bearded Browns podcast. We're going live today. We're going to try to keep up with the latest stuff that is falling, dropping. It seemed to be, not too exciting, but exciting enough to maybe you can talk to us about it. Hit us up in the chat. Feel free if you have any opinions. But today we're going to cover the free agency needs, who we signed, cuts, team needs, and news in general from Cleveland and around the NFL. And we're also going to include the latest mock drafts that we have up. Yes, because obviously we got to talk mock drafts now that the team seems to be coming together in free agency or lack thereof, because it doesn't seem to be a lot going on in free agency. So nonetheless, how are you guys?
Pretty good. Rush today.
Yeah, it was a rush. We had to hurry up, get together and just sign on. It was one of those days where I was here. I was just waiting. I was just waiting, and then Mike popped in, and then Chad popped in.
Great.
Yeah, it was great.
A late day.
I give yesterday and today an F for fantastic. Pure sarcasm, by the way.
Great stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Chad, you want to talk about the scheme? Let's just talk about free agency right now. What the Browns have done currently in free agency, and
we got a Super Bowl contending quarterback.
Really?
That seems like the easy breaking news.
Yes.
Let's hit that first, honestly, because everybody's mad about it and upset, and I'm really not. And you want my idea as to why I'm not mad?
Yes.
I think that Kenny Pickett is going to be a third-string quarterback, backup guy for sure. Did he learn some stuff in Philly? Yeah. Could he come here and learn more? He's still young. Yeah. Baby hands. Yes. We know all these things, and it does kind of suck. Nobody was expecting Kenny Pickett to be in Cleveland, but it could be something that could potentially, with quarterbacks going down in Cleveland, a possibility of seeing him on the field, which I think if everybody could stay healthy, I think it's unlikely that we'll see him starting a football game for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, odds are you will, because every quarterback that dresses in that year often plays for the Cleveland Browns. We start 2 to 3, maybe even 4 sometimes.
We're turning over a new leaf, Angel.
So I would say get prepared for the worst, but if it doesn't happen, great. But listen, if it does happen, I think it would be okay for a game or two. I would be more worried if it's over that. I also think if he can get under Kevin, maybe Kevin could help him a little bit. Now, is he going to be like elite, like Sam Darnold last year? Maybe not. But at least good enough to win your games. He's actually, I know it's going to be hard to say, he's not that bad. He just isn't great or good. He's just not bad. Am I wrong saying that?
So I'm going to give you an example. Small hands.
Burrow has small hands.
But girls complain about small hands.
Did you?
Okay. All right. Pause.
Here's the thing. First of all, you just reminded you guys remember that tweet? It started circulating again from Joe Burrow, like during the combine week, where he was like, "Hey guys, breaking news! I'm retiring from football because I was just informed by NFL media that thanks to my tiny baby hands, the ball will constantly be flying out of my hands, and I won't be able to compete in the NFL." And it started like recirculating this year around combine time, like it always does. So Kenny Pickett's hands, I will say, Kenny Pickett's hands are smaller than Joe Burrow's. They are the smallest hands for a quarterback that I've seen coming out of the combine to actually be like a legitimate draft pick and taken. But the reason, of course, I don't care if he's a Steeler or a Brown, I'll still make that joke, like from the Burger King commercial, like I've got these little hands.
But, small hands.
Oh, yeah, the best thing was yesterday, you sent us a picture. As soon as we found out, Chad sent us a picture of Miles sacking Pickett. That was the first thing that we got.
Yeah, but did you notice anything in that picture about his small hands? They were still holding the football, and he didn't fumble. So I guess my point is, I'll still poke fun at him, but the guy has played in the league for 2 years, and he doesn't have some giant fumbling problem. And what's really funny is at the combine, unrelated to Pickett, they specifically asked Andrew Berry. Some people are saying like the quarterback's hand sizes might be small this year. And he's like, I do not care about hand size. I care about their turnover problem. If I don't care if they have 10-inch hands and they fumble all the time, problem. If they have 9-inch hands and they never fumble, who cares? So I'll still poke fun of him. His hands are 8.5 inches, which is 9 is like the bare minimum for quarterbacks.
I have to measure my hand. I have to measure my hand.
Yeah, my hands are small. My hands are small, but I'm not a very big person. So I guess that's
carpenter pencil.
So so my question is, would you rather have Kenny Pickett or Deshaun Watson?
Kenny Pickett.
Okay, would you rather have Kenny Pickett or DTR?
Kenny Pickett.
Okay, so what's the problem here?
There is no quarterback. There is no quarterback in the NFL that I would not rather have than DTR. So let's just open with that. And then I wanted to say, I wrote this thing down from Cynthia Freeland. She's NFL.com's analytics expert, if anybody doesn't know. I know that already makes half of Cleveland Browns fans cringe because numbers are terrifying. Yeah. My point was, she came on and she said the biggest mistake she sees with fans looking at players and like draft boards, mock drafts, all this stuff, is they look at a player, they say, this is how good I think this player is, and then that's how they rank their big board. And the reason teams have different big boards is because Andrew Berry now is Kevin Stefanski. The plan is to stay with Kevin Stefanski. She brought up specifically the offensive linemen were so terrible last year because they are offensive linemen that were brought into this program to run that wide zone scheme. They switched the scheme. A lot of them could not block the new scheme nearly as well. And so she said, you look at things like offensive linemen, for example, quarterbacks, wide receivers, depending on what kind of offense you run, what kind of program you have, what kind of culture you have, different guys are going to rank differently. It's not about a Madden score of like, this guy's a 98, so he's the best guy, we take him. It's about fitting. And so when I look at Kenny Pickett, I immediately like, this is not a surprise to me at all, which is why I thought all of the dismay last year was hilarious. Kenny Pickett is a former first-round pick who has underperformed, was let go by his previous team. This is an Andrew Berry special. We even talked about Kenny Pickett back when we talked about who are the first-rounders who have been cut, who could be picked back up by a different team, a la Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. And we said it was guys like Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, Kenny Pickett was one of them. There's a bunch of them. And it's just so funny that like, I feel like people just nixed Pickett from the list because he's a Steeler. We hate him. We've been making fun of him for so long. It's impossible to like turn that off, but it's always been a possibility. And like you guys said, in agreement, I'm even a little bit higher on him. I don't think you asked like, is he good? He's okay. He's good enough to hold down the starting job. He has a 15-10 record, which is excellent, but it was with a team that had an incredible defense and not a great offense. Newsflash, everyone in Cleveland, we are a team with a incredible defense and not a great offense. So I look at Kenny Pickett and I go, if he's the backup, like that's not the worst situation. If he's the third stringer, that's about the best third stringer you could ever hope to have. How does the city love Jacoby Brissett so much that they talk about him 3 years later and they absolutely hate the idea of Kenny Pickett, who can absolutely do everything Jacoby Brissett does?
That reel is going around about him as an Eagle, where he went to go throw the ball, held on to the ball, threw himself and the ball down. And I think a lot of people are watching that and just
I don't even know how that happened. I took 3
with small hands. Classes. You don't think that would happen?
I couldn't tell you how the ball stayed in his hand and his whole body followed the ball. Like how?
Even with the small hands, his ball stayed.
The Browns have been looking for an acrobatic quarterback, and they finally have one.
And to your point, he has a better record overall than Watson, and obviously a better overall record than DTR. And I would even say probably I have a question for you. Who has Pittsburgh developed as far as quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger has left? Why is no one not? Why is nobody
Ben Roethlisberger was picked in before Mike Tomlin, like forever ago. Yeah.
So my
question
is,
I was like a kid when he was picked. Like, come on.
Why isn't Pittsburgh being hated too? Because right now people are like, well, the big local media here. It was on the Browns have to develop a quarterback. Like Pittsburgh didn't develop him correctly. Maybe, just maybe, he needs to be developed correctly. Maybe being in Philadelphia for a year, he learned some things from Jalen Hurts, and he can take it to his next team,
right,
a la Sam Darnold, and play well enough to make you a good enough team to win. I'm not
and in
saying,
addition to that, like, let's not go crazy. Like, I'm not gonna like wave the flag like super. I posted a joke. I posted a bunch of rings, and I was like Super Bowl champion quarterback, and people were like, so a lot of people didn't get the joke, even though I put like a laughy face. But so I'm not gonna like wave it up and say like, oh my God, they found their future quarterback. What they picked up was a very cheap developmental quarterback that was a former first-round pick, even though a lot of people thought that was a reach. So then what? He was a high second-round pick? Okay. And I would put it this way, like, the chance of him becoming a good franchise quarterback is pretty slim, but he has a much better chance than DTR. He has a much better chance than like a 38-year-old. He has some chance, and for the risk, it's nothing. And even if he doesn't, his best days of football are very likely in front of him and not behind him. So if nothing else, maybe you pull the quarterback in the building that, depending on how the rest of the offseason shakes up, can be a long-term backup for you. Like that is a great scenario to get into. That's why, I'll just never understand why people were so freaked out by the pick.
Yeah, I think also too why they were freaked out because they had their expectations set pretty high. I think now if you guys actually pay attention to what these quarterbacks are getting paid, $14 million, even Wilson got $6 million. Browns don't have that money. Like that's something that maybe hindsight we should talk more about. Like who are they going to be able to pay? Because
people were talking about Fields and talking about Fields got one of the lowest starting quarterback deals that anyone's got. It was $50 million for 2 years. Do you think we're signing? Do you think the position we're in right now?
No,
we're about to give somebody like Justin Fields two $25 million years. Like when the chance of him turning it around is probably not that much better than Kenny Pickett. He's more athletic, but he hasn't been better. He played for the Steelers too, and he got wins because the defense was good. He also couldn't put touchdowns on the board. So you're looking at two former Steelers quarterbacks. One was $50 million. One was $2 million.
Yep.
Where's the disconnect?
Yeah, there's talk that they probably won't even be able to floor Flacco because I think Flacco will be wanting like $4 million. Like, so they're
hoping. Isn't that the league minimum?
Yeah, that's the league minimum. And they're saying they don't know if they can even, analysts, the people that are smarter than me, say they don't even know if they can afford Flacco. So that's why they're banking on Cousin to hopefully. And there's a report came out today that most likely they're waiting for Cousins, and by Sunday or Monday we'll find out.
Yeah, and that was Zach Jackson of the Akron Beacon, or I think he's with the Athletic now.
Yeah,
I still think of him in the old, but yeah, he's with the Athletic. I think but here's the thing: is Flacco off the table because they got Pickett? Probably not. They probably don't want to make that move until they find out about Cousins.
Yeah,
I think they're talking about this weekend because my assumption would be on like the 12th to the 14th. Somewhere in that window is when Cousins is probably due a signing bonus. And so if they're going to cut him, it's probably before a bonus is due. I didn't look that up, but that's what happens all the time. They're like, well, we can cut this guy and we can pay him, 30 mil, or we can cut this guy and we can pay him 22 because we skip his bonus. So, if that's the case, they'll probably wait for that shoe to drop. People aren't rushing to the podium to pick up the guys that haven't been picked up yet. So now that this initial free agency rush of like Justin Fields picked up by maybe one of the most desperate and quarterback dysfunctional franchises in the league. Okay. And Darnold, the only guy in this entire free agency that I thought has a legitimate shot to walk in as a starter. And then probably my third guy, Daniel Jones, who was looking for a position where he would compete and to be the starter. All three of those guys were probably going to cost too much, and all three of them, ended up in a different position like we expected.
Yeah,
that's the way the cookie crumbles. My cousin just texted me and said, We got to stop talking trash about Pickett. He's got more rings than Dan Marino.
Jeez.
I mean, look here. So here's the thing. Like, obviously, he didn't help with that Super Bowl. He did win one game for them that year. He did take snaps in the Super Bowl. That's really fun for him. But you mentioned like he just played for not only one of the best offenses in the league, but he played for a great coach. He played in one of the most stable, consistently excellent franchises. Yeah, organizations in the league. Prior to that, he played for another constantly successful, one of the highly touted organizations in the league. At least you're bringing a guy in the building that came from two good organizations, because you are fighting and struggling to become one of those organizations. So yeah. I have no problem bringing in guys who have that kind of experience at quarterback. You know, it doesn't always work. Like, it doesn't help to bring in a Juan Thornhill from KC all the time, culture-wise. But in the quarterback room, especially when there's a very good chance you're going to draft a young quarterback, this guy now says, well, this is what Pittsburgh always does. This is how Jalen Hurts prepares. Like, this is how I've been preparing, you know, under these two cultures. And it's just another piece in the room that has been around great culture. And at the quarterback position, I think that's important. I think that was a big piece of bringing Flacco in 2 years ago and having success. He has built most of his career in an organization that is consistently excellent, and that helps to have in the room. And so when Stump Mitchell is on with us and says the coaches had such an easy time coaching him, the other players got on board with whatever he said, like, that resonates to me, because like, that's what you want in the building. Now, he doesn't have the same clout as Joe Flacco, but again, he's been there at least. If we happen to draft Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, any of the other rookies that are expected to go, you know, somewhere after this second round, I'm happy having him in the building with a good shot that there will be another quarterback in the building also. It's a good situation.
Yeah, it is. And I think Browns fans need to chill out. I think, all small hand jokes aside, I think Pickett would be a good backup.
I'm not going to stop making them. I'm still going to make them, and I can't.
Oh, no, I'd say, like, the joke aside, like, we can joke all day about it, but hopefully.
Yeah, I have small hands. I can make all the small hands jokes that I want.
Now I got to measure my hands. I don't know. I might be in between small and large. I might just be medium. I might be average.
Today, and about extra large. You know what that means? Men with big hands buy big gloves.
Yes. So there's no free agents on day one that came here, obviously, other than it was a trade, right? Like, we actually predicted that. We said, no, we're not going to be paying, obviously, no high price free agent because we're broke. I think anyone day one is all of the top, like, one or two. Day one is how you find out how much you have to pay these guys, because the number one guy goes first and he gets $28 million a year. And then, you know, okay, that's the tier. The next guy gets 24. Like, for any Browns fans out there that thought we were going to make a giant splash, there's no money, man. And we have a pretty full roster and 11 draft picks. Yeah. Yeah. Is it 11? Yeah. Even if is it 11 or 10 now? Or is that including the fifth round?
I think it's 11 now.
Okay. Yeah. See, so you still got a lot of picks.
James says, do you want to take Chubb off the table now, or do you think we're going to take Chubb off the table now? I don't think so personally. I think we're going to figure out a way to keep him here and then still draft another running back.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, why would you think Chubb's off the table? Because you got
that's not on our
hands as a quarterback.
Some people are saying. I've seen people post on, like, Twitter. Yeah, like, I've seen people post like, Andrew Berry let Chubb go. He's definitely not coming back, like, once he's out the door. And I don't agree with that at all. I think he's going to go test the market. If a team's like, we'll give you $3 million, and the Browns go, we would give you $3 million, there's a good chance he comes back in the building. Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen. Somebody might be like, we love you. We're going to give you $8 million coming off your second season-ending injury. But I don't know how many teams want to take that gamble right before the draft that they're calling, like, the best running back draft of the last decade or more.
Right.
So
the
market's low. The market's low. A lot of teams last year picked up free agent running backs like Josh Jacobs and Barkley, and so a lot of teams signed them to multi-year deals. So the market's shallow, man. So I'm not bringing Chubb off the table, and I would be happy to have Jerome Ford, Chubb in the room, and then 1+ rookie running back.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But the Browns do sign a longtime veteran swing tackle, Cornelius Lucas. That was late last night. I woke up to that news. I actually thought that was a pretty good sign. I didn't know too much about him. I had to look him up, but considering who we had, Hudson or Fetty. I could go. The list goes on and on. Like who's the backup? Yeah, Adeniji. Like the list goes on and on. Like who's going to be the backup left tackle? Like he's solidified. He's about 10 years, I think. 10-year veteran. I could be wrong on the years, but I thought that was a good signing.
It's about 10, 11 years. Yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's 33. But what I was talking to somebody earlier today about. He's 33, and obviously that means he's towards like the end. But one thing I wanted to bring up with him is that he's not like somebody who had great seasons when he was in his 20s and he's fading. His like first 4 years in the league were kind of mediocre to like not great, and he's started to pick up later. His best seasons have been like his last 5 or 6. So he's kind of a late bloomer. They didn't pick him up to be a long-term option, so he fits the room. I will take his last 5 years of production and scoring over most every veteran we had in the room last year. Those guys just did not come in with enough. Like some had some experience, but they didn't come in with enough ability. This guy's a swing tackle. He's played on the left. He's played on the right, and
depth.
That's what
they need
it. His depth. Yeah. Last year, he was the 27th, I think, rated tackle out of 141 eligible tackles.
Wow.
Who played in? Yeah, you had to play like I forget 200 snaps or something to 230 to be eligible. So he was 27th with a 41 overall grade, and even more important for whether we need somebody on the left side is he had a 79 passing grade, which was 25th overall. So pretty solid. And like I said, the last 5-6 years of his career have been his better years. So I'm pretty happy to have him in the room in an area that we thought was one of our biggest needs.
Very, very thin. Well, thin, not very thin. Earlier today, the Browns signed an edge from Tampa, Tyrone, and I'm not going to say that. Shanka. 1 year, $4.75 million is an edge. A depth guy, I would assume.
Andrew Berry special.
Yeah, he has 15 tackles in 4 years, 15 sacks in 4 years. I do know that. So he's one of those like low guy that you pay but high potential. Hopefully it can lead into something like who they just signed 10 minutes ago, Devin Bush. You guys know him, right? We talked about him on the show last week. He said, we want him. We want the Browns to sign him back because we thought he did well. The Browns did. They just signed him about 10, 15 minutes ago, 1 year, $3.25 million. That's a pretty good linebacking so far. I mean, considering that you're broke.
Yeah.
I just think Devin Bush came in last year and had to play, I think, a lot more than they expected because he was supposed to sort of be in 3 linebacker sets, which we don't run very often. And he was supposed to sort of be the third linebacker, so a rotational player when we're playing 2 linebackers. And with the injuries we had, especially to JOK, he had to play a majority of the season. And he, I think, put up his statistically, his at least grade-wise, his best season. And so I thought, okay, this is a great fit. I don't think he's high on other teams' radars despite that success. He's going to be more valuable to the Browns than moving on to another team. And they signed him cheap. I think it was a great pickup. He was one of the 3 guys. We all picked like 3 to 5 guys that we thought on our free agency list that were even worth being on the roster out of the 25 or so. And we had trouble, some of us even coming up with 5 that were worth it. And I think I had 3, and he was there.
Yeah,
so I'm really happy to have him back. And it makes you feel better because we still don't know what's happening with JOK. And they've got a lot of picks where they can try to grab a linebacker, but having a veteran like that, working with the younger guys like Diabate is, and who was the rookie they brought in? I can't think of his name, but having him in the room with those guys and potential more young rookies seems like the perfect scenario for you.
And for everybody that's worried about the 5th round pick that we did give up next year, That's that trade that we got for Zadarius Smith. So it's not that big of a deal. I don't think, in my opinion.
It was going to be the fifth from last pick in the 5th round. Like it's the Lions pick.
Right.
So it's not like it's like, oh, it's 5-1. It's 5-28. So
exactly.
it's not a huge
basically
thing to
you
out.
technically could have got a quarterback at that pick anyway. So
I meant to bring that up.
out of it.
While we were
And
there,
we looked up the statistics. The so far the chance of getting a starter on your team out of the 5th round is 4.5% over the last 20 years.
Jeez.
I'm not saying you can't do it. We got Isaiah McGuire. Like somebody pointed that out. Like you could get the next Isaiah McGuire. And I'm like, if you see the next Isaiah McGuire in the 5th round, you have what? 5 6th rounders and 2 7th rounders. You hand 2 of those over to this team to trade up to that spot. You have so much ammo to trade up. You cannot take that many 6th and 7th rounders.
Yeah.
So if they find guys they like, I think this entire time, these 5ths and 6th and 7ths were meant to be used to either trade up in the draft or to package for veteran players that were going to get cut and different things like that. Like you don't want to take, 6+ guys at the back end of the draft after like in the 200s. Like you don't want those picks. They're such long shots.
Yeah, then you can be complaining about Andrew Berry's hit rate because he's not going to hit those, and you're going to be like, "Dang, he didn't get the guy to 6th round." But look at the guy in that 6th round playing better on this team. It's like, I mean, you're comparing. You're come on now.
And Andrew Berry is very good at the late rounds. We've gone over this over and over. Andrew Berry is as good or better in the late rounds of draft, like day 3 and on, as any other GM. He's got some work to do on the resume at the beginning. But at the later portion of the draft, he's found some pretty good guys.
Yeah.
But you're not counting on building your team that way because once a year he pulls somebody after the 3rd round who's really good. But like I said, you have so many 6th. If you really value a 5th round pick, trade 2 of your 6th and move back in the 5th round.
I agree.
True.
James, I just got a notification also that you ordered a hoodie. Thank you. If you guys want this hoodie, you can get that down there in the link below. Angel was about to show his hoodie, but he's not wearing it. You can get the hat too.
The hat. There,
Thank you, James.
Thanks,
appreciate
James. It. That money we make off that is just going to go right back to printing out more shirts. Hopefully, when people order more
equipment for the podcast.
Yeah, I got to order some.
So before we get too far from Joe Tryon Shoyinka, I looked up his PFF stuff for us. So he came into the league, had a pretty low rookie year. Doesn't look like he played very much. His sophomore year, he did pretty well. He got himself up to 60, an overall grade of 67. So remember, he started poorly, got himself up to a 67 grade, which is green. It's a starting grade, and that's 69th out of 203 players at that position. There's more because you rotate edge rushers so much. And then the next year he came in with a 66, which was good enough for 82 out of 190 in the league. So kind of just better than the middle of the pack, much better than the middle of the pack his second year. But then his 4th year, remember his 4th year, he had a terrible season this past year. And I don't know him. I don't know if his injuries or just scheme or he just had a bad year, but he was 171st out of 211 with a 52 score. So that tells me why he was cheap, because they're like, well, we're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you to stay here if this is what we're getting. But this is exactly looking at his 2 middle years, 22 and 23. That's pretty productive play. He had a couple sacks. He had a ton of tackles, and I could see him being like, oh, well, this is somebody that's an easy, cheap fix to hope to get something out of, which is why I called it an Andrew Berry special. A lot of these don't work out, but for the price, why not swing? These are the Devin Bushes. This is Devin Bush, who came into the league as a high draft pick, stunk his first year, was mediocre his second year. His 3rd year ends up moving on to another team, plays okay, and then you bring him in for super cheap, and you hope to finally find the best of him. So that's what I'm seeing out of the same pick.
I see every year. every year outside of last year, he got 4, 4, 5, and then 2 sacks. I mean, if you get a guy just coming off just an extra play or two, can give you a sack here or there, that's huge.
And you know how the Browns are with like he's not going to be a starter, but you know how the Browns are with analytics too. If he's getting pressures, then they're going to keep him around. If he's getting pressures and he can stop the run, he'll have a spot on the team. And you hope like he's working across from Miles. He's working back and forth, competing with Isaiah McGuire, who's really good. Alex Wright, who's showed a lot last year before the injury. It makes a competitive room where you have a young guy able to push himself with various levels of talent. Another good situation.
On to other news. Andrew Berry restructures Deshaun Watson and adding additional $35 million in cap space, putting the Browns cap space to negative 22 to
we
13
were at
million.
negative 22, and now we're at positive 13.
Positive 13 mil, which is good.
I wanted to put this in there because so many people were like, I thought we got 30 something $1 million with the Deshaun deal. So I wanted to kind of like let people know, like, that's where the money was. We were at negative 22. So we created 35 million in cap room, and it covered the 22 million we were in debt, and then added 13. When you saw that number, more money can be made. Like people have said, like, so we're going to get money back by cutting guys. We're going to get money back by restructuring deals of guys we want to re-sign or keep around. But this was the reason when we talked about this last week, how below the where we were in the cap. This was the reason why we thought, I know Andrew Berry can work the cap a lot, but we're trying to get out from under the Deshaun Watson deal. So that's why I didn't think we would have a giant free agency where we're like, we're going to assign the number one defensive end and the number one, receiver. Like that was never going to happen. Like that wasn't in the cards for this year. They're going to draft these young guys, try to rebalance the roster financially so that next year when they can finally get out from under the Deshaun Watson money, at least the majority, they've pushed it out, but at least that huge giant 40-something million hit, then they can start spending again, and they'll have enough rookies, hopefully, that they can pay from their own team that they can get themselves back under like a reasonable spot where they don't have to do so many cap gymnastics.
Yeah, I was looking for the next one. They also cut. They're looking to cut after June 1st. Thomason. They're going to cut him to save money. I thought I sent you guys the total of what that was.
Saved 6.4 this year.
6.5, 6.5 million this year by cutting him. So he does have a cap hit, I believe, but he also earns us more spending money for this year, and the cap hit is less by designating that he's going to be cut after June 1st. What's cool about that rule, though, is other teams, when you give them that designation, other teams can still sign him. It's just a contract like term where you're like, it's going to be the after June 1st or before, and the team can choose what to do based on what will be the most financially beneficial. But they give it to him now, so he still has a chance to sign with somebody.
James wants to know how much time they have to restructure other guys like Denzel Ward, because in 22,
I think they
Denzel
can do
Ward
that
signed that $100 million 5-year deal.
I think they could do that throughout the whole year, no?
Yeah. Now that the league year started, they'll be able. They don't have to be under the cap, I don't believe, until they need to like sign their rookies and get into the
something to look out for too is the signing from or a trade with Newsome. I've been reading a lot that Newsome could save us 7 if we trade him. So that could be an additional saving. I don't know if they're going to do that after June 1st or not, but that's an interesting thing to watch because that just adds more money to what we can work with. And again, it's what Barry does. Barry just messes with this, reconfigure things and see how we can get more money to do stuff with.
One of Andrew Berry's strengths is his cap and contract manipulation. I got into a conversation recently with some people online that are like, well, I don't understand. Couldn't any GM do this? And it's like, yeah, they could, but they don't. So I don't know if it's I would guess it's because it's a little more difficult than just, can't they do this? Some of them don't have an owner that will back up the upfront spending. Some of them don't have an organization that believes in like paying forward and shifting cap hits till later. It has to all like work out with your organization. But he's also very good at signing low priced flyers and not wasting a lot of money or draft capital on them. And he's very good at putting contracts together that will allow you to sign guys even when you're at the top of the cap. So
Sam on Facebook says, buy Newsom. He can take his dance skills down the road.
Honestly, even I don't like the dancing, and I'm not the type to be like, I don't want to be the old curmudgeon that's like, don't you dance. But
Jim said that he could do it though. Coach Schwartz said, "Hey, celebrate."
I know.
When you're down 31 points, don't celebrate.
That's where it's to me. So to me, it's a personal thing. Like I'm fine with celebrating too. And if Coach Schwartz is like, I like that vibe. I like him to be loose. I like him to be having fun. Great. But to me, I wouldn't have it in myself to be down 21-3 and knock a ball away and then like.
Yeah, start doing whatever.
You're still doing it? Like,
yeah.
Stop.
I do want to bring this up, and James just brought up the point I wanted to bring up. He says, "Yeah, I've seen trade talks about Newsom for Ayuk. We all know Barry wanted Ayuk. I think this would be his third year wanting him. That would be dope. He does have that crazy contract he just got, so I don't know how true this is. At least Ayuk would have a reason to dance." I sent that to you guys yesterday, and even chat was like, "False?"
Yeah,
like, question
yeah.
mark?
I don't.
The fit makes sense to me because I know they were shooting for him. I mean,
Yeah.
the fit is because last year they went like all in for him. They were going to give a second round pick, I think, and Amari Cooper to get him, which at that time I was on board with. I also had no idea Jerry Jeudy was going to jump to such a better level at the time either. And unfortunately, I'm just a big believer. Like Ayuk got hurt, he missed the rest of the season. I'm not a big believer that like, oh, that would have happened if he came here too, because like, who knows, like if it was a misstep on a field that he never would have been on. Like it's a very butterfly. It's so hard to predict, but it would have been a pretty friggin' unexpectedly excellent receiver room. They did an okay job of getting rid of Cooper for a nice asset in a different way, but that's the fit. The question is, do they want to sign a guy off this injury after San Francisco already gave him that contract? The idea was like, you trade for him, give him to Cleveland, you give him the contract, you set it up the way you want. So I get the fit, but I don't think it's as big of a lock as people think, only because two major cards like that have fallen, and now maybe the trade value goes way down and you can get him cheap. I could see that. But if the trade value didn't go like way down, I don't think they're going to be as interested.
Yeah, that's the thing. The reason why I haven't really said anything, because I feel like most of the people are reporting it are like fan sites, right? Because they're putting two together. Like I get some of them are saying, well, you can trade Newsom and work the money out that way. But I would be scared too. I mean, he's coming off an injury that obviously takes you a whole year to recover from, even when you're playing. So you're not going to be the same all next year. So you're going to take on that cap space and then you're going to have a technically down year for a player that you're paying big money for. Is
right.
I mean,
he'll
it
be
would
in
be nice if
preseason
he was
form.
healthy. Yeah.
Like mid-season.
Yeah.
Right? Like mid-season, he'll be in preseason form if the recovery goes the way that it typically does.
And I wonder if I'd be interested to know, like, maybe he'll like, well, let's see what they do at quarterback, because I'm not going to go there if Kenny Pickett's thrown to me. I'm not going to be making any bonuses or any money. So maybe if Cousins falls, maybe we could see the wide receiver room kind of what that looks like next, whether if they don't do it in the draft or not.
Yeah, and the quarterbacks are coming off the table. So, like, I think probably the players, much like most Browns fans, and I don't know, at least half the analysts think that the Browns are probably taking a quarterback, if not second, which is the most common like thought, then definitely like early-ish. And I still think that played out in the quarterback market. Like quarterbacks were not interested in coming into Cleveland and potentially starting, or the Browns weren't. Well, the Browns were interested in them. The Browns, I'm sure, looked into Darnold. We know the Browns made calls on Jones, but my question was like, I wouldn't be shocked if some of these guys looking for spots were like, I want to know what your quarterback situation like Jones went to what, Indy? They know he knows what the quarterback situation is. It's Anthony Richardson, and he can look at that and go, can I beat that guy out? I bet I can. Justin Fields, like, I don't know if the Browns inquired, but the idea is Aaron Rodgers is leaving the Jets. The Jets called Justin Fields. His agent was probably like, hell yes, this is a starting job, because they know there's not that many immediate starting quarterbacks in this draft. And so even the guy that might go first, a lot of people think like he's got a lot of work to do. He might not start the season. So I think a lot of these quarterbacks were looking at the situations. The tough one is you just don't know the Browns situation, because is Cam Ward going to somehow get to them? Are they going to take Shedeur Sanders if he's the guy there? Do they grab somebody at 33 that they really like that slipped? Or, it's just such a very unknown situation. And so I don't know, even if you're Daniel Jones, you might be like, if I go there and then they do pick Sanders, like that stinks. Like, I don't know. I just think that probably played into a lot of agents wanting to know where to send their guy. The Browns were probably not looking to sign multi-year deals. They're looking for like 1 year type guys, but
yeah, this is a miserable off season kind of for the Browns, just because there's so much to look forward to.
I feel like it's a horrible free agent class too in general. Like, there's not a lot of talent.
There's not the normal boom, and just like every year, the free agent lists come out of like, oh, here's the best free agents, and then immediately it's like we talked about, like T. Higgins, by far the best receiver, and you're like, yeah, it's a pretty good receiver to be on the market. Tagged. Like, it just you look at whoever the top list is, one half of the top guys end up like tagged and stuck with their team anyway. So when you have a year that's even a little bit lower than that, it's like there was even less tags this year than normal. There's only a couple franchise tags this entire for the entire league, because there just wasn't these high level guys that were coming up for free agency. It's pretty crazy.
Look at that. We tagged Myles Garrett and he wasn't even a free agent. Still 2 years left on his contract. Tag.
Sorry, but and did you guys hear the little nugget? I don't know what that Myles Garrett contract has done, cause a ripple effect within our division, because Chase wants to be the highest paying non-quarterback. How are they going to pay him more than Myles? And also, too, T.J. Watt, his contract is coming.
And Trey Hendrickson, too.
Yeah. So how are they going to, those two teams going to try to compete with that Myles Garrett contract? So that was a smart move by Barrett, because he not only won
the pot in the AFC North, dude. He's sitting there like
I do think what's interesting, too, about that contract, you guys might have talked about this Saturday a little bit, but I've heard some people say, like, oh, they threw money at the problem, and that's how you get players signed. But the other thing they were like, well, they changed Myles' mind by paying him all that money, but Max Crosby just made like $36.5 million a year, and Joey Bosa, who's great but has had some issues, just got paid like $35.5 million a year. So Myles making $40 a year, to me, when Crosby comes in at like 36.5, is not like some crazy, like the Browns paid him this incredible amount. It's way more than he used to make, but it's not much more than the next free agent. And I think almost everybody, in fact, everybody that doesn't live in Las Vegas is probably like, yeah, Myles Garrett is better than Crosby. But it is funny because there's a bunch of those guys, like you're looking at Dallas, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, a ton of people have to pay their guy. And now the market is, there's like, where do you fit in between Joey Bosa and Myles Garrett? Like, you're probably within that $4 million chunk.
Yeah. Yep. So one thing about signing Myles is that it helps solidify an area in which we thought may be weak if he's gone. About 2 weeks ago, we did a segment, or we spent some time about areas of weakness. And question is, have they changed since that show? And we're going to get into that real quick. So the starters we had listed needs, obviously, quarterback, left tackle, running back, defensive line, and safety. Now we did a talent from a depth perspective. Like, let's add some more depth. We're okay here, but let's add some depth as receiver and tight end. So you guys want to look at what's available now? If we can add, who can we add to make our starters needed?
I guess
obviously.
First, do you guys still think that those, like, thinking of the Browns roster, do you still think those are the areas where they need the most help for depth and starters? Does that still fit?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Okay. Do you guys have an order? Like, here's where they.
Oh,
for me, like,
yeah.
I think, like, though they absolutely still need to start somebody to start at quarterback. I think they absolutely need a starting running back because I do not believe Ford is like a running back one option. And then I think they need a safety for sure. Defensive line, it's like they do kind of need a starter, but there's multiple players at the position, so you can mix it around. And then left tackle, I mean, I think they need a starter, but I also think the guy they just brought in and
Swing guy
Jones both have a shot to be that starter. So I don't think they're going to be like looking for a high price high price starter. Somewhere in the mix, they need a starter, but I don't see like that as like, yes, spend $30 million a year on a left tackle because I just don't think that's where they're at.
And say we did.
I think they really want. I think Andrew Berry really wants Jones to be
left tackle,
the starting left tackle of the future. I just coming off another injury, though, I don't think that's something he can probably expect, and I think he probably learned that from last year. But I think if like truth serum, to him, I think he would tell you, like, who do you want to be the starting left tackle for this team? I think he'd say, like, yeah, that's who I want to actually eventually develop to that spot.
I would go quarterback, running back, left tackle, safety, defensive line, because if you're going to bring in another quarterback, it's going to be a right-handed guy. He needs to his blind side needs protected. We watched the running backs get stomped on last year because the whole offensive line as a whole was just trash to me. So I think left tackle
should be much better this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that. I think left tackle is a very important position, especially with, like I said, the right-handed quarterback thing. His blind side needs protected. You don't have Deshaun Watson out there running around like a goofball. That helps. So, I mean, that's just my outlook on it. Definitely.
I would say, though, to your point, like if they end up landing Sanders or Cam Ward, both of them have a propensity to hold the ball a little bit long, and so left tackle becomes just as important because if they're holding the ball long and somebody's coming from behind them, they're gonna get killed their rookie season, which is not how you want them to start.
I'll say quarterback or left tackle. Dang it. Just have you listed here. Quarterback, left tackle, left tackle, running back, defensive line, and then safety. I struggle because I feel like we're undervaluing the defensive line as far as like the middle aspect of it. I think we need to beef that up a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of torn between a running back and that in that order. But it'll be fine once we get Mason Graham. Anyways,
I mean, there is a running back in the room. Like we've seen Jerome Ford function without Nick Chubb twice, and he did okay. I just think there's a lot of chances for a better player to be in the room with him this season. So that's why I keep it up there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's others like I feel better. Like obviously we have a starting safety. And then we've got some backups and special teamers mixing in, and maybe there's some development and a jump. But like, there's not right now to me a safety to put on the field right now. You need two. We have one.
It's true.
For me, it's like they need
no idea
one.
What's going on with JOK. Still nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear that he will not be ready for camp. I do know that.
Did you? Where'd you hear? I would love to find that.
I don't remember where I heard it. It was yesterday.
Okay.
I know that on my endeavor to Michigan, that horrible, horrible state. I was, where did I see that at? I might have heard it when I got back in the radio range. On the radio, 92.3 The Fan. But I heard he's not going to be ready for camp. I forgot to look that up today. Man, breaking news yesterday.
That's a big one. Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. If that's the case, it's not going to change in the next 5 months, so we got plenty of time to figure that out.
Oh,
but,
James says Mary Kay said something about it. That's probably where I heard it from.
That's good.
Yeah, I actually heard that too. Now that he said Mary Kay, I do remember her saying something like that. Unfortunately,
MKC.
She's
Chad. Did you roll your eyes?
She's got her moments.
Yeah, that's how I say. She's all right.
I love her reporting. I hate when she gives like speculation or opinion, and then because people see her as a reporter, they start going all over social media saying like Mary Kay reported this, and it's like, no, she didn't. She literally said, if it were me, I would do this, and everybody's like, Mary Kay is saying that they're going to cut this person. It's like, oh my gosh.
Let's see how bad
I hate
this
the interpretation of her stuff.
Baker Mayfield's coming back to the Browns, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be here Monday.
No.
5-year deal. You heard it here first.
Never. Yeah. So that's crazy. Baker Mayfield will never come here. He probably won't even want to sit in the state anymore.
He'll retire in Cleveland. Mark my words. Watch.
I doubt that. Best player.
Way.
No, there's no way that would happen. I think Bernie will play before he does. So let's look at the best player available, and as far as free agency is concerned. So what we can do is let's look at what we need. Obviously, left tackle, running back, quarterbacks. I actually lost that list I had on my phone, and I'm pretty upset. So yeah, quarterbacks that are left. I can't remember because the list is off my phone. Left tackles, who's left over, running backs, defensive line, and safeties, right? That's what the starters.
Those are our biggest. Those are our top 4 areas we thought where we actually probably need a starter, and then the other 2 where we think we need depth is wide receiver and tight end.
Yes. So I'm looking for this list, so bear with me. Dang it. This is what I get.
And I'll just say, like, this is just my opinion. I think the chance of us picking up a running back in free agency outside of Nick Chubb, who's capable of being a starter, or a veteran tight end, both feel slim to me because those both feel like you have veterans in the room. You probably want youth, and this is a draft full of those guys. So like tight end and running back, I wouldn't even blink an eye if they pick up nobody in free agency at those 2 positions, because I'm expecting draft capital there. So it's another quarterback.
All right.
Probably another tackle, defensive line, safety.
And this is all free agency, right? This is
free agency.
I'll get mine out right out of the way. Everybody's going to want a 1 or 2 year deal. Honestly, nothing's going to be below $5 million or above for anybody that we'd really want. So we're not going to afford it. We're going to have to pick it up in the draft.
That's the issue we do have with these remaining free agents. It's pay. Well, some of them. We'll start with quarterback available as far as their top 10. This is from the score, their top 10. Aaron Rodgers is left. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, and Mac Jones.
Okay. Okay, let's hit those one at a time. One at a time.
Aaron Rodgers. No. Simple.
Going to the Steelers, right? Do we think Aaron Rodgers is probably a Steeler?
Probably.
It's been all over the place. So I'm thinking unlikely a Brown, although Kenny Pickett does not deter you from getting Aaron Rodgers. I don't see the fit because, like, up here.
Yeah, he that's what I mean by no. Up here, he's just not there.
The reason Kenny Pickett and Kirk Cousins fit the Browns is because they are literally looking for somebody who will come in and, no questions asked, do exactly what Coach Stefanski wants done on his offense so they can get out of this nightmare that they've been dealing with. And Aaron Rodgers is better than most of the guys you could bring in. But I just see, like, the whole goal for bringing in a quarterback is save the coach's jobs. And that's a quarterback that literally gets a coach fired constantly.
Yeah.
But hear me out really quick. I'm sorry to interrupt on this.
No, you're good.
This could be a huge benefactor for this year coming up. We told Myles Garrett we want to win too. We're going to bring a winning quarterback here, but we're going to do it next year we're going to kind of suck this year. So we're going to do a bunch of stupid hypocritical things that Cleveland doesn't want us to do. But then they'll understand next year when we pick up, what's his name?
Manning.
Manning. Yeah. Arch Manning.
That's if he comes out.
Man's not coming out next year.
I don't think he's
I
coming out.
didn't think so either. I didn't think so, but
I mean, there's a couple.
People are still on Drew Aller and some other guys too, though.
And that guy from LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a gamble, man. That's as much a gamble.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I'd try to win with what you got now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
I agree.
And do that.
I'm not looking to next year either. I think fans that are like the team's looking till next year's draft. That is absolutely that's not how a team thinks unless you are literally the Browns in 2015 when they're like, let's hire somebody, break everything's down, lose on purpose. Like that's not happening here.
Yeah,
like,
Jimmy tried that. Jimmy tried that. Didn't work.
It's happened like a few times in all of history, but like nobody comes in to a GM job and says like, okay, let's try to come in. That's why it was so shocking that the Browns tanked so hard because teams just don't do that. And if they were going to, this is not the way they'd be doing it.
Yeah.
They would have been getting assets. They wouldn't have dropped Tomlinson. They would have tried to trade him for anything. Like there's more to it. But yeah. So what do you think? So you think Rodgers is a potential fit here then, Mike? Or do you think just no, it's not?
No, not even worth the time.
He's 41 too. He's old. Russell Wilson, 36. I'll give you the age too.
This is the only, so obviously this was straight to the Steelers, right? Until like all this news came up with Rodgers. Only one of them can, which means one of them will be available.
Yep. Russell will be interesting. I would be interested in Russell because I think he's smart enough to stick within scheme of Kevin. And I do think you can win. Now, how much? Maybe borderline wild card or maybe in the wild card with him. So I would be interested. If they get him, I'm like, okay. I'm just worried about the money because I think he would require about 5 to 6 million.
I think
he would want more money.
He's diminishing so fast. They're about equal. I think mentality-wise, I'd rather have Russ. But I think if you were just trying to have 1 year where you won as many games as you could, Rodgers is the better pick. But, okay, so one of them is going to the Steelers. One of them is available. And the only choices left that need a quarterback to start probably are the Browns and the Giants.
Giants, yeah.
Is that it?
That's
and the
what
Titans,
I believe.
Technically.
Yeah,
and the Titans.
Well,
but
if you see,
I don't think they're making a move.
Yeah.
You don't count them because they get the first pick. I mean,
if you see the moves that they made today with their line, you be like, yeah, they're going for a quarterback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you need the line for any quarterback, but I would be shocked if they passed on the quarterback. So a lot of people think they will. I would be shocked. But yeah, so technically the teams are the Titans, the Browns, and the Giants that I can think of. Everybody else has a starter, and these guys are going to be looking for starting positions. Okay. Who else is on there?
Jameis Winston, 31. We've been here, done that.
I love it, but he's going to go be a backup somewhere. Yeah. He's the one guy who's going to get signed to specifically be a backup so far.
Yep. Marcus Mariota, 31.
No. I think he is a kind of a fit here, and he's a super long veteran, but I just don't think he's got much to offer.
Mac Jones, 26.
I'd give it a shot.
When you bring in Pickett though, are you going to bring in 2 reclamation projects and a rookie? Like,
hey, just throw some darts. Here's the deal: like, if you bring in, do you really bring in a rookie? If you bring in these and Kirk Cousins,
if you're thinking about skipping a rookie, I absolutely bring in Mac Jones also. And you look at like, okay, we got 2 former first rounders. Both of them can probably play in this scheme. Both of them were like hindered by their lack of overall physical ability, but we prefer mental ability and the ability to make the right call on the field over arm talent.
Yep.
So yeah, so if they're like, guys, we just realized we hate Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart was not going to be there or whatever, then yeah, this works. But if you believe they're taking a quarterback, I can't believe they would have a room with 2 reclamation projects who are both like 24 and 25 and 25 probably, and 25 and 26, whatever it is, and then a rookie at age 23.
Another scenario I brought up yesterday is we could have him as trade bait right now.
Who?
That's a possibility. Pickett.
Maybe. I don't. Who's going to want to trade for him?
We did. I mean,
he's got small hands.
so-
He's got small
but trade
hands.
bait, like we gave a fifth for him. Like I guess there's a scenario where he looks incredible in preseason and a quarterback goes down, and you're like, well, we have all these quarterbacks. You can have ones like just like we tried to do with DTR and Snoop Huntley. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a possibility. I don't think you bring him in for that reason. I think you're trying to like. I don't think you think, well, we'll have him developed by August, but yeah, if they end up with too many, they'll probably want to unload one.
That's it. That's your top 10. Next is up is left tackles, and the only one on the board for as far as guards or tackles on this list is available is Cam Robinson, 29. I think he's rated number 1, and he's going to require money. I think I don't even understand why he's not even signed yet. That's weird. I think it's
interesting he's not signed because other guys have. Well, I guess like Ronnie Stanley was another guy who's ranked pretty high, but he re-signed with the Ravens, so that kind of makes sense. Like he stayed, but again, usually the first guy on the board like is the guy to like set the market. And there's been one or two guys already. Like Dan Moore, you just said the Tennessee Titans, like they brought in Dan Moore. So that's the one that's been signed. I don't know. Maybe he's just one of those guys he wants a lot of money and he's waiting for a team to be like, okay, we'll pay it. I mean, he is going to want a lot of money. He's going to want one of the highest paid.
I mean, there's a lot of guards left out there if you're interested in that.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Jeez. Guards are.
I mean, it's not like they couldn't use another guard for depth, but like that with this many picks in the draft, like that's a guy you hope to draft.
All right, running backs. J.K. Dobbins, 26.
I would go for it.
Too much money. I think I think somebody's going to actually pay him.
Yeah, he's going to want.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying I think somebody's going to actually give him money to be at least in their starting rotation if they don't have a guy, and we've got one guy. So I just don't see them paying anybody but a role player.
He is projected to get a 2-year deal worth $8.1 million.
Yeah, which is not a ton, but it's...
Yeah.
I mean, here's the question. I would guess that Chubb is in line to get a 1-year deal for $3 million. Would you rather have Chubb back for $3 million, or would you rather have J.K. Dobbins for $8 million?
I'll take Chubb back.
Dobbins.
Always go with the Buckeye, man. I'm just playing.
Most
Mason Graham now saying, let's go for the Buckeye.
Next
Me, I'd rather have one more year of Chubb.
Yeah.
And then draft a guy or two.
He's actually next on his list, number 4, but next available is Nick Chubb, 29 years old, coming off 2 big injuries.
Of course, J.K. Dobbins is coming off just as many terrible injuries, also just not last year.
All right.
He's young. I didn't realize he was J.K. Dobbins was 26. Rico Dowdle, yeah, 26. He was on Dallas last year.
He's another guy. So that's the kind of guy I could imagine. I feel like he's a guy that's going to get like $2 million a year or less, and like that's cheap enough and he's young enough that somebody's going to be like, meh, let's give him 2 years and $3.8 million, and maybe you can get that done. And you're like, okay, super cheap.
Kenneth Gainwell, Philadelphia. He's 25.
Reminds me a lot of Ford. He reminds me a lot of Jerome Ford. So I wouldn't love that.
2 Fords.
I've never liked the player. I think if you bring somebody in, this is for me, I don't see Ford as like a big, like bruising back, although he can find the outside, he can make big plays, but then he misses on some. Like if you're going to bring somebody in, like bringing in another guy that like catches the ball well and like plays on third down, like just doesn't seem.
But the year prior to that, he did almost have a 1,000-yard season. He was like 80 yards shy of a 1,000-yard season. This year we knew the line was having its issues, so maybe.
Oh, Ford?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just mean the type of back. Like you're looking at like I just think if you're going to bring in a back and you already have Ford in the room, knowing what the draft looks like, I would think you're bringing in a back that can just run the ball for 2 yards if you needed it. Maybe that's not all he can do, but I just don't see them bringing in like a guy who for years has been a third down back who kind of like plays a receiver just as often as he's coming out of the backfield.
Next on that list is Cam Akers, 25. I didn't realize he was that young. I feel like he's been in the
Cam
league
Akers
for
is the type I was describing. So I could see like he's been injured a lot. He's underperformed his draft status. He may have a really low value because of it. This is a guy I would kind of be excited if they brought him in as like a flyer, as like a reclamation project. I mean, all those guys are good. Any of those guys are good. I'm mostly just naming like who could I envision Andrew Berry would bring in. Look at the guys he's brought in from free agency. He's brought in
much less injury.
Pierre Strong, these guys who have just like underperformed other places and he got for nearly free. He brought in Foreman off like a struggling injury scenarios where he was just underpriced. Those are the kind of guys I'm thinking. They're not my favorites, but it's the kind of guys I can envision.
Last on that list is our favorite second son, Kareem Hunt.
I knew he was going to be on here.
Will we get Kareem Hunt back?
I don't want to get into
29 years old. He's 29. He's a good goal line guy. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Coach Mitchell and Coach Callahan are not around anymore, so nothing's off the table. And like maybe the new coaches are like, I like him, but I would say realistically, like, do you let that guy go? Deal with the fact that he was in Kansas City having all that success. By the way, Browns fans, weird. Kansas City didn't like sign him to a several-year extension because according to a lot of Browns fans, he was the greatest back in the world. Like, come on. He had a productive season. He was very productive, but he was like a flyer. He'll be cheap. This is $1 million player. I'll bring him in. I'll be happy with him.
Yeah.
He can get you that 2 or 3 yards that I was describing.
That's about what he was good for here last year.
And
it's what he was good for over there too. Don't get too twisted. He was rushing like 3 yards per carry or something.
On to defensive linemen. Only 2 available, 2 left on their top 10 there. Levi Onwuzurike from Detroit, 27.
Okay.
And Malik Collins, 29 from San Francisco. 29 seems high for the Browns. They usually go younger, no?
For a defensive lineman?
Campbell is still around.
Yeah, defensive lineman.
Calais Campbell is like, dude, Calais Campbell's like our age. He's so old. What is he?
Dude, I'll be
still
40
doing
this year, man. Come on.
You sound 40. I'm 40. Yeah, I'm old. So yeah, those are the only 2 left on the board. Safeties.
When was he drafted? I feel like it was so
2000.
long ago. That's what it feels like. I feel like he was drafted like 20 years ago.
That's how I felt about Cam Akers when I saw he was only 20-something years old. I was like, I feel like
you hear that name a lot. I don't know why. It feels like you hear Cam Akers a lot.
Maybe 2008. Calais Campbell was drafted in 2008.
Wow. Been around.
He's really standing. Yeah, he's playing like a quarterback.
So, that's safeties. I was looking at corners.
So I don't see that fit, by the way.
Yeah, definitely not that fit. He's old. So there's only 3 safeties on the board. That's our next starters needed. Julian Blackman, Indiana. He is 26. He's from the Colts.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Defensive linemen are like the few and far between that I really, I guess, pay attention to on other teams so far.
Justin Simmons, 31, Atlanta, and Marcus Williams from 28 from Baltimore. Those are your 3 safeties left on the board.
Yeah, what makes this tough too is we need somebody who can come in and actually mostly play strong or free safety. So that even narrows you down.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's all we need right there. The starters needed. The talent depth wide receivers are very. It was a weak wide receiver class in general, so I don't even know.
I'm just not sure we're getting much out of it. I see more likely to get a trade, but yeah, let's hear who's on the board for the receivers.
Stephon Diggs, 31.
I think didn't they sign him already?
Did they? I didn't see anything there.
I'll go ahead and talk about the other ones. I'll look at
you can bring back Mr. Cooper. I don't think he would want to though. A guy that I would be interested in, Tyler Lockett. I think he would be.
I'm just gonna say you just named the top three available.
Correct.
Guys, and their age totals almost 100.
Yeah.
That should tell you something about this free agency class. These are, old. I don't know if I can think of a free agency class where it was just pretty much all old guys. Everybody's like 28 to 33.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is still available, saying he'll go to the Cowboys, Chiefs, Patriots, or Seahawks.
You go whoever gets you, buddy.
Because he's not coming here.
You are not going anywhere. You're injury prone now, dog.
You know what that is to me? That's like retirement talk. That's like I'll go to one of these places where I feel like living right now, and if I don't, like,
oh well, I'll sit out.
Free agents only talk about that if they are like Myles Garrett level. Like, I'm only going to go here, and that team's like, okay, perfect. Or if they're like 32 and they're like, yeah, if none of those places take me, I'm good.
Going to the CFL.
I'm done.
Next up, go ahead.
I was going to say, so that's another. So we've got like a 31-year-old, a 31-year-old.
Okay, yeah, 31, 30, and 32 so far. Okay. It doesn't get any better. Keenan Allen, 32.
Yeah, 33. He's gonna be 33 soon.
He'll be 33.
Jen said enough old talk. She's got all of his beat. I think Sam is the oldest one on the show now too. I think Sam's like 57. No, I'm kidding. He's like 52.
Yeah. He is old.
But he looks younger than all
Sam's
of
like
us.
Sam's like 74.
Yeah, his social security number is 8.
Eighth man ever. Next up after that actually gets younger. Elijah Moore, Brown. We all know who.
Yeah,
Elijah
so Elijah
Moore.
Moore. That's why I said Elijah Moore is like way up at the top of my wish list.
Yeah, because
he's like the only guy that has room to improve.
Too. He's 24 too. I can't believe. I keep on forgetting how young.
So young.
Is. Yes. Wow.
He's just coming off his rookie contract. He got drafted young, which is part of the reason why I thought he had struggled early, and he went to the Jets. Second reason why he struggled early. Like, I still think with a functional quarterback, Elijah Moore can play better football than he's ever played.
We watched it with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, we watched.
Does he have an estimate? How much is he worth? Does it say like how much he's predicted?
No, it doesn't say. No, I don't. Okay. I don't.
I'm
see
he'll
that.
stay here.
PFF predicted a 1-year, $4 million deal. I know. Spotrac also does that. Spotrac also does that same kind of thing where they like predict the market. But
Dante Johnson, 28. Don't want him. He was on like 5 different teams last year, wasn't he?
I would take honestly. I would take Deontay Johnson if he was cheap enough because he kind of fits as a possession receiver. Yeah, he just fits as a possession receiver. But there's something up when you're on, 4 teams in 2 years. Like
it's crazy.
Not Baker Mayfield. That's
not right.
Anyways,
and I just don't know what he does. I don't know what he does at this point in his career. He's been way more productive, but I don't know what he does better on an individual basis than Elijah Moore, who's younger and probably cheaper.
He'd be good for depth. That's about it.
Yep.
Which is all we're going to do. I think they want Tillman to be good. They think Jerry Jeudy is their one. They've got a draft coming up. They just have thrashed David Bell coming back from an injury. Like, they're pretty young in the room. They've got to just want like a veteran. That's to go with Jeudy. Like, you just want
like Mike Williams, 30. He's a veteran.
That's actually younger than I thought.
Yeah, he's 30. He's tall too. He's long. DeMarcus Robinson, 30 from the Rams. He was on the Rams last year. No takers. All right. How about Brandon Cooks? He's 31.
He's got to be like 32. Okay.
That's that like Amari Cooper take on Brandon Cooks.
You can do it though. Like, you can sign if one of these guys scraps to the bottom and you're like, I'll give you 1 year, X amount of million, and it's pretty cheap, I would be fine with bringing in almost all these guys you named on like a 1 year deal. But that's pretty much all you're shooting for then, right? Like I wouldn't, there's nothing in my head that says it's not helpful to your team to have Mike Williams if to play alongside of Cedric Tillman. But again, like you're not paying him anymore. Like he's gotten his big money. Like he's got to really want to play and be like, yeah, I'll take $4 million on one of these like low vet deals. And I just don't know if you're getting it.
Yeah, I know you're probably going to be disappointed, but Demarcus Robinson is off the board now. He is going to the 49ers. He's going to the Niners on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. I'm sorry, Chad.
Him and Mecole Hardman are two guys that I picked up in Dynasty football like 4 different occasions because I always hoped they would like hit that next level. And neither of them did. So, like, I'm just salty on both of them because I'm like, oh, high hopes. They've got some upside. And then 3 games with 1 catch and 9 yards. And
yeah. Like, on to the tight ends.
We were just awarded 2 compensatory picks. James actually broke that news. We got a 6th and a 7th round draft pick.
Nice. Let's see what kicker we can get. Let's see what kicker we can get. Thanks, James, for that breaking news. Because
that's awesome. How did we get them? So those must have been from other free agents getting signed or coaches being brought in. I don't know where those would have came from.
The NFL awarded the Browns final pick in the 6th round, number 216 overall, and the 38th pick in the 7th round, number 254 overall to the 4th, to the last pick in the draft. Under the rules for compensatory draft selections, a team losing more or better I hate that word. Compensatory free agents than it acquires its previous year is eligible to receive compensatory draft picks. Compensatory free agents are determined by a formula based on a salary, paying time, and postseason honors.
You say compensatory so weird.
I hate that word.
I would have to think to say that word. Compensatory. Tight ends. Okay. Evan Ingram, 30.
I would give it a shot. 1 year.
I don't know, man. I
mean, the guy can still ball, but he's another 1 year guy, I guess. Tyler, again, anybody that old comes to price. Will you play here for not that much, or is another team that's like, we are tight end short of exactly what we want, and we can't count on getting the draft pick? That feels like the type of guy who goes to a team that doesn't have David Njoku. Yeah, he's going to go in as like a one more time starting tight end.
Let's see who else is left.
Tyler Conklin, 29. I
actually like Tyler Conklin, and he played with the Vikings for a bit.
Yep, Vikings, and now he was on the Jets last year.
He probably played the Vikings at the time that Stefanski was there. So connection.
Watch him. He's 29. Keelan Grayson, 26. He's young. He's in Indy. Probably a guy that didn't see the field much. Mo Allen Cox.
He also came from Indy, right?
Yep. Gerald Everett, 30, Chicago. No? All right. Our boy, Jordan Akins, 32.
He's that old?
So I would say everybody you've named so far can play tight end for us next year on a 1 year deal, and actually will probably see the field.
Yeah.
Because this is a great tight end draft, but we're not picking one in the first round with number 2. And chances are at 33, somebody would have had to slid out of the first round for us to pick that guy, because there's probably other more critical positions. I could see us getting one, but like one of these guys, if they will do exactly what Akins did, if they pick one up, he's probably playing starting role when Njoku is hurt and or being tight end too. So like all of these should probably be guys that like could be on the table.
Number 10 in the last one, he's a former Brown. He is 26. Played for the Raiders. Harrison Bryant, anyone?
No. No.
On the list as a top 10 available. I guess tight ends. There's not that many tight ends.
There's not many. So yeah, he's top 10. He's the last one.
Was there even 10 when the free agency opened? Was there even 10 available?
There was 10.
Tight ends?
Yeah, Juan Johnson was number 1. Austin Hooper.
That guy's still around.
On there?
Yeah, he's 30.
I knew he was around. I can't believe he's on there, like on a top 10 list.
He's number 4. John Bates was number 5, and those are the ones that are off the board. Austin Hooper, dude. Hooper. Remember when we got Hooper?
We're probably still paying him from his last deal.
Yeah. I thought we were going to go to Super Bowl, man.
Okay, I will say my favorite one of those, I don't know why. I kind of like Tyler Conklin. He's another guy that I've always thought, like, he seems like if he got more play, he could do something. Evan Ingram is the best guy on the board. But I mean, if he'll play here, he'll contribute immediately. But it feels like, at least name value, it feels like he'd be more expensive than we would want to pay.
Yeah, Tyler Conklin, Minnesota from 2018 to 2021, around the time Kevin was there.
I'll say any of those guys you named, though, could play for this team, even with Njoku here. None of them are like, oh, I'm the number 1 on the team. Like, they're all a guy who's like, Evan Ingram probably has been in the number 1, but at 31 or whatever, he's by far the best one. I'm surprised he's not at the top of that list, but okay. That's it. I mean, they're just good names to know, because as free agency winds and these guys don't get their deals, you get better deals, and that's why it stinks to be the team the Browns used to be, in a rush to like fill 9 starting positions with free agents and have to pay massive money to guys who are like, oh, I have so much money, I don't even have to try anymore.
Yeah, I'm 32, going to play with your quarterback, and I'm going to wear gold shoes and put diamonds on them.
Look at you go, Chad, on X over there. Sorry.
What?
Your post.
I don't remember what I posted.
Cornelius Lucas, Jack Conklin, Jedrick Wills, the offensive line. Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm keeping up with it.
This
is what I do when I'm at the hospital. Like, I'll literally have like 5 minutes in between tasks, and I'll just pop on Twitter, bulk answer everybody who's messaged me, or post the stuff that like Angel or one of you had mentioned that day, and then I'm gone again. Just
that's how it was the last 2 days for me, but
yeah.
Do you guys want to what do you want to do with the rest of the notes here? You want to move that on to next week, or to Saturday?
Most of those were just recap from the combine, so they were just player recaps for the draft, so we can hit some of that stuff.
Did you just grab a potato chip, Angel?
No, I moved the bag for for that. I'm like, get out of here! Get out of here!
He's like, no.
For the record, I mean, they're protein chips, dog. Protein chips.
Oh, from
today's show was not sponsored by
Quest.
Dr. Pepper Zero
Are they
Sugar.
Quest? Okay.
Yeah.
Quest protein chips are the only ones I've ever had. I
they're
don't
good.
know if there's any other brands.
Halo, HALO. Those are pretty good.
Okay.
We'll give them some free pub.
Like Halo Top, like the ice cream.
No, they make. There's another brand called another chip. They make chips. Cool Ranch specifically is really good. But the Halo ice cream is really good. The chocolate, they have chocolate and they put stuff in it now. It's not just chocolate, it's chocolate.
Yeah, when I'm doing those low carb diets, which I do like one like twice a year for like, I don't know, a month or two. And like that stuff becomes critical because you get such a sweet tooth when your diet is vegetables and meat.
Yeah.
You're like, and it's harder to eat. Like you can't even have fruit. So it's like, I'll just have fake sugar, like snacks, like protein based snacks.
Yeah. I guess we can move this on to fillers for other shows, but on March 30th we'll be at the IX Center, right, Mike?
March 30th from 11 to 2, we will be at the IX Center. Chad, if you want to fly in, man, feel free.
Just fly in, doing a live show. doing a live show there.
That's what all these T-shirt sales are for, getting me back to Cleveland.
Yeah, so buy more shirts, get Chad home. That's the
People are like, wait, I have to spend money on a shirt and Chad is closer. Like,
you got to pick one.
I don't think Chad would want that anyways. It's like, cold weather.
I'll buy a T-shirt. I'll buy a T-shirt to keep him in California.
Yeah. No, we'll be there from 11 to 2. Come at our booth. We're gonna go live. We're gonna be talking probably more free agent talk. Hopefully draft talk.
We're down there with the Red Line Network.
Yeah, we'll be down there with the Red Line Network. Follow them on Facebook, by the way. They're almost at 1,000 now. But yeah, come join us. Also, if if you have a beard and it smells and you need to clean it up a little bit, go to beardgains.com, get your beard care. Use Bearded Browns and save 10% on your order, and any order over $35 is free shipping. So that's it, guys. Good show.
Straight out of Michigan today.
Yeah, it smells like a toilet bowl.
It smells like Flint water.
Oh,
yeah.
God, sorry, that was a
not even
joke.
Too soon. Just it's never okay.
Yeah, never.
Trevor Spring on Extra said, "Please get Cousins." We'll find out. We should know something this weekend. I would hope not by Monday. I would imagine.
I just feel like it's almost like that gives me. I think I talked about it before. It gives me no excitement, but like it seems like such an obvious next move that I'm almost like been just people mention it and I'm like, oh, did it happen yet? Like, not just everybody's just talking about it like it's definitely happening and it's more a matter of when. I don't know, maybe.
Yep. So get off the picket train, everybody. It's not going to happen. We're going to move along. We will see you guys Saturday with me, Angel, and Sam. 10 in the morning, join us live. We're going to talk some more Brown stuff. I think we're going to save the rest of what we got for Tuesday, but sure some stuff will come up throughout the week for us to talk about Saturday as well. So
go Cavs.
Tuesday is honestly going to be like, okay, free agency is very close to over. Here's who we got, and here's who's the left team needs. Let's start looking forward to the draft, who to get here, and then we'll start just hitting it one by one week by 1 week. It's coming up quick.
Let's all build a mock draft
in a month and a half.
I know Angel usually does like one a week, but
what?
I was for a while and posting him, but then it got old.
Yeah, I stopped.
Like I said, I want to see. I like the mock drafts after free agency because that's when you get, especially quarterbacks, but a lot of major positions land, and you're like, oh, we thought this team was taking this with the 7th pick, and then they signed the best one in free agency. There's no way they're doubling up on that position. All the mocks will shift. Probably not up top though. The Browns are getting Ward, Sanders, Carter, or Hunter on every single mock I've seen. But maybe something lands where they're like, well, now I believe the Browns are going a different direction.
Do you guys want me to pop off our last Monday top 10 real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Tennessee's picking up Cam Ward. Cleveland picks up Shador Sanders. Number 3, New York Giants pick up Travis Hunter. 4, New England picks up Tet McMillan. 5, Jacksonville gets Mason Graham, so Angel, you can sleep well tonight. Number 6, Las Vegas gets Abdul Carter. 7, New York Giants will pick up Will Johnson. 8, Carolina, they get Jahdae Barn. And number 9, Maliki starts. And 10, Will Campbell.
That is the latest I have ever seen Abdul Carter.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Since before the playoffs, since before the NCAA playoffs.
Yep. So thank you, our lads, for stirring the pot right before we end the show. We'll see you guys Saturday.
Go Browns and Cavs.